Today on Thin, Strong, Healthy, we're going to talk about sugar, why we love it so much, and what to do about that. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Cheryl Major with ThinStrongHealthy.com, and I want to welcome you to this edition of Thin, Strong, Healthy. Today, our objective is to understand what sugar does to you and how to begin to formulate some strategies to reduce or eliminate added sugar from your diet. First, let's talk about why we crave sugar. As a result of the recent obesity epidemic in the United States, scientists have turned their attention in the past few years to the question of why we crave sugar. There have been some startling findings. First of all, we are hardwired to crave sugar. Right out of the womb, we have a taste for it. With salt, it actually takes a baby, an infant, several months to acquire a taste for salt. But sugar, no way. We want it immediately. Let's talk about the different parts of the body that sugar has an effect on and that influence our cravings. The tongue, well, early man had tongue receptors that could taste sugar, but the modern trend is toward making everything so very sweet, it seems to trigger even more cravings for sweet things and a desire for greater levels of sweetness. Before the 17th century, sugar wasn't widely available, and the average consumption was about only 7 pounds of sugar per year. Now, 7 pounds of sugar per year may sound like a lot, but it really isn't. And remember that usually, back in those days, it was consumed in the form of a sweet food like honey, for instance. In contrast, today in this country, the average consumption per person is about 125 pounds of sugar annually. 125 pounds of sugar. Now, if you can envision a pound bag of sugar that you see in the grocery store, just in your mind line up 125 of those, and that's what you're eating. That's what you're putting in your body every single year. Now, artificial sweeteners, what about those? They've actually made the problem worse. The so-called high-intensity sweeteners, known as HIS, and they've been approved by the FDA. Sweeteners like aspartame, those are many, many times sweetener than natural sugar. These highly intense artificial sweeteners actually boost our cravings for sugar and sweet foods. And as an aside, they actually slow down your metabolism. They slow down your metabolism. So if you're someone who thinks you're doing a good thing by having a diet soda with your fries and your burger, please think again. You're doing exactly the opposite of what you're aiming for, and I understand what your intention is. We crave things like burgers and fries, and we're trying to offset what we know we're ingesting and what it's doing to us. So we make the changes and the adjustments and the substitutions that we can, and diet soda seems to be a good one. Okay, let's talk about the brain and sugar. Our brains are also affected as a result of increased sugar, sweetener consumption, and this causes cravings for more sweet. We don't yet completely understand the process, but it appears to be a vicious cycle of craving, reward, needing greater reward because we have a greater craving. And it's a vicious cycle. On and on it goes. Now, the reward aspect is both physiological and psychological. It affects us both in our bodies and in our minds. Have you ever heard of dopamine? Dopamine is a feel-good chemical that elevates mood and naturally relieves pain. Now, sweets raise dopamine levels in our brain, so it follows that sweet things actually do make us feel good. When we're feeling down and we eat a cupcake or a piece of candy or we have a chocolate bar and we feel better, That's not your imagination. You actually do feel better because the sugar, the sweetness, triggers the release, the production of dopamine. We're going to talk about some ideas, later on in the program to help you take steps in the right direction. This is about progress, not perfection, and that's kind of my theme with the whole healthy eating thing. Now back to how we're rewarded. We're rewarded for not crying during a haircut or a visit to the dentist by giving us a lollipop. Now, how ironic is that? The very thing that most probably drove us to the dentist with that cavity is what we get for reward. Ouch. Ouch. I have a lot of cavities in my mouth, and I know it's because we had dessert every night. We had a lot of sugar in my family. Now, it follows that we learn to reward ourselves with food and or sweets when we complete a task. If we're stressed, many people often manage that stress with food, with drink, or with both. Now, the problem is that the more sugar you get, the more sugar you want, until you start to crave it in the same way that a drug addict craves a fix. They've actually done studies with rats, and they give them a pile of cocaine, and they give them a pile of sugar, and every single time, the rat will choose the sugar. Now, if you've been struggling with a sweet tooth and cravings for sugary foods, it might be time to reduce or eliminate all sweet things from your diet for a few days to see if you can curb those cravings. Also, it's frankly in your best interest to find other ways to reward yourself that don't involve food. Now, improving your general health and weight by learning how much obvious and hidden sugar you're eating and how to reduce it in your diet, that's important. And for the purpose of this show, I decided to use myself as a guinea pig or an example. So let's analyze my old breakfast versus my new breakfast for sugar content. Now, I changed how I ate back in 2012. So what I'm going to describe to you is how I ate for years and years, my general breakfast. I mean, sometimes it would be a little different, but this was kind of my go-to breakfast. So let's look at that for sugar content. And let's remember that 4 grams of sugar equals 1 teaspoon of sugar. 4 grams of sugar equals 1 teaspoon of sugar. And let's see how well or not I used to do for breakfast. Okay, this is my old breakfast. I would generally have cereal with milk and berries. I would have a cup of something that wasn't really terribly sweet, like Life cereal. Not terribly sweet, something that wasn't obviously sweet, like I didn't have Fruit Loops or I didn't have Frosted Flakes. I thought I was doing okay. I would have about a cup of Life cereal with berries, and that cup of Life cereal would have 8.3 grams of sugar, or 2+ teaspoons, a little more than 2 teaspoons of sugar. I would have a half cup of 1% organic milk, and that's 6.5 grams of sugar, or 1.5 plus, a little more than 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. That quarter cup of blueberries, that would have about 4 grams of sugar, or about 1 teaspoon of sugar. I'd start off with about a half cup of orange juice, and that has 9 grams of sugar, or 2+ teaspoons of sugar. I usually had a slice of whole wheat toast, and 1 slice of whole wheat toast has 1.6 grams, or a little more than a quarter teaspoon of sugar. Often, and most of the time, I would have coffee with a little half and half, about a tablespoon of half and half, and that has about 0.6 grams of sugar, or approximately 1/8 teaspoon of sugar. So my total sugar for my old breakfast was 6.8 teaspoons of sugar for my breakfast. 6.8 teaspoons of sugar for just my breakfast. What is the maximum amount of added sugar per day that we're supposed to eat? 25 grams of sugar, or 6 teaspoons a day. So I had completely blown the amount of sugar that I should have for the entire day by the time I got up from the breakfast table. So next we're going to take a look at my new breakfast, and this is what I've been eating most of the time. Now, sometimes I substitute things like eggs instead, but this is kind of my go-to breakfast, and this has been for, over 6 years now. I will have about a half cup of rice and beans. I often eat vegetarian-style meals now, not completely, but I often have vegetarian-style dishes. And that half cup of rice and beans, that has 0.6 grams of sugar, or approximately 1/8 teaspoon of sugar in it. I have fresh berries instead of my orange juice. I have a 1/3 cup of fresh berries, usually blueberries and red and black berries, and that gives me 2.9 grams of sugar, or approximately 3/4 teaspoon of sugar. Almost every day I have a quarter ripe avocado, and I do that for a variety of reasons. First of all, I like it. Second of all, it has vitamin C, and it also has really, really good fat. It has a healthy fat. I have about a quarter ripe avocado, and that gives me 0.1 grams of sugar, or approximately no sugar. Sometimes I will include a half tin of wild mackerel in olive oil. As I said before, oftentimes I'll have a vegetarian meal, but sometimes I'll supplement for a little extra protein, and I'll have a half tin of wild mackerel, and that gives me 0 grams of sugar. I also like to have a cup of organic green tea with a tablespoon of light coconut milk. And that coconut milk has 0 grams of sugar, and I also include a half teaspoon of xylitol, and that gives me 1.5 grams of sugar, or approximately a 1/3 teaspoon of sugar. So, the total sugar for my new breakfast is 1.2 teaspoons of sugar for my entire breakfast. Now, this is a lot better. This is a lot better, and frankly, this breakfast stays with me better. I don't get hungry as quickly, I don't get cravings, I have more protein, and I don't have a real sugar bump that sends me up and then drops me flat by about 10 o'clock. My breakfast now is significantly less than the sugar allowance for the entire day. That's important. Cravings for sugar are stronger than cravings for any other types of food, and there are good reasons why. Our tongues contain up to 5,000 taste buds and up to 25 receptors that tell us when something is bitter. But there's only one receptor for sugar. That one receptor can differentiate between different types of sugar and causes certain responses in our bodies. The type of sweetness that comes from processed sugars causes a powerful outpouring of opiates, endorphins, and it instantly makes us feel content and relaxed. It's easy to see how addictive sugar can be. It's easy. And the processed food companies are diabolical in the way they manipulate us to eat more of it. Have you ever heard of the bliss point of sugar? The bliss point of sugar is the point where there's just enough sugar added to a food that it tastes amazingly good, but not too sweet. That's the bliss point. Any additional sugar, and the food does not taste good to us anymore. It just tastes too sweet. What Big Food has discovered, though, mostly by taste testing with kids, is that if they add more salt to that now too sweet food, we can tolerate more sugar. The more sugar that's in what we eat, the more we crave the sweet food, the more we crave, the more they sell. Follow the money, baby. And just think about what it's doing to our weight and to our health. I want to help you gain awareness of what's being done to manipulate us. Big Food is trading your health for their profit. You're struggling with weight gain, diabetes, premature aging, and many other chronic conditions because you can't say no to the way processed food companies have taught us food should taste, which, by the way, is not how real food tastes. Now I want to take you to my kitchen and show you how to make some desserts that are low in sweetness, but that will help you see you don't have to live the rest of your life never, ever having a treat or dessert again. Now, one of the desserts involves beer, and admittedly, beer contains sugar and carbohydrates. The goal is to reduce and or eliminate the quantity of sugar you are ingesting, not to make you be miserable long term. So let's check this out. I'll see you after. Today I'm going to show you how to make 3 easy, delicious, believe it or not, healthy desserts that you can enjoy anytime. We're going to start with 2 recipes for chia pudding, and they're going to be so easy that we're going to make them in this same bowl, glass bowl, remember glass, that we're going to store it in. So I'm going to take the lid off, and we're going to get started. We are going to begin this delicious chia pudding by putting in our 1 bowl here, 2 cups of almond milk. And remember to look for unsweetened almond milk. You have to be really careful because a lot of the time it has cane sugar and fructose and all kinds of things that you really don't want to have in it. So make sure it says unsweetened almond milk. To our 2 cups of almond milk, unsweetened almond milk, we're going to add 6 tablespoons of organic chia seeds. Now you can get organic chia seeds in either the regular color, which is kind of a gray. I think they call them black chia, but they're not really black. Or you can get white chia, which are also kind of a light gray. So we are using the regular ones. So we mix that up, and this is so easy. You mix it, you let it sit for a minute, and then you mix it again. So while I'm letting it sit for a minute, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Make sure it's real vanilla. You want to avoid the imitation vanilla. We stir it again, and then we're going to let it sit for 5 minutes, which I'm actually not going to do this time because I'm going to be adding some other things and teaching you a little bit about xylitol. So let's talk about xylitol as we add that as our sweetener to this chia pudding. Here I have 3 teaspoons of xylitol. Now you don't have to use sweetener in this. If you're really used to not having sweet, you might not need it. But you can use more or less to taste, and I suggest xylitol rather strongly because it doesn't give you a glycemic bump. It doesn't affect your sugar levels like stevia or maple syrup do. Stevia tends to have a little bit of a tang to it. I'm not a big fan of using it in cooking, so I default to the xylitol whenever I need a little bit of sweetening. And you have to be careful now because there is a cheaper form of synthetic xylitol that's coming from China, so make sure you read your labels, as I always encourage you to do, and make sure it's not coming from China. So we're going to put 3 teaspoons of xylitol in there, and we're going to mix that up. And then this time, I mean, that could be it. You could just put this in the fridge like this, cover it, put it in the fridge for an hour or so, and you've got your chia pudding. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make it a chocolate chia pudding. So we're going to add 4 teaspoons of organic cocoa powder. We're going to mix that up. And again, when you're doing this, you're not going to be talking like I am probably, and you'll just be putting things in and mixing them. So initially you'll mix a minute after you add everything, and then you'll wait for 5 minutes, and you'll mix it again, and you'll wait another 5 minutes, and you'll mix it again. And that's it. So we've got our cocoa that's being mixed in there, and I am going to do something that you don't have to do, but I would encourage you to try it because it really does make the chocolate very interesting. I add 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon. This is Saigon cinnamon, and it gives the chocolate a little kick to it. Makes it a little interesting, a little more complex. So you might want to try that. Let me know if you try it, how you like it. I always love to hear from you, you know. People do let me know that they've tried different recipes, and they let me know what changes they've made to them, if it works for them. And sometimes I take the changes they suggest and I cook with them. I make them, incorporate them into the recipes. So that's it. We're done. This is chocolate chia pudding. We are just going to cover this in the bowl we mixed it in. It's going to go into the refrigerator for an hour, and then it's going to be delicious. I'm going to set up for the next version, which is even easier than this one was, believe it or not, and I'll see you in just a minute. Here we go with chia pudding version 2, and you are not going to believe how easy this is. 3 ingredients and 3 ingredients only. I have the first ingredient in the bowl already, and remember, this bowl, we're going to mix it, and we're going to refrigerate it in 1 bowl. Cover it, and in the fridge it goes, so minimal cleanup. So we've got a can of organic coconut milk here, and to that we're going to add 1/4 cup of organic chia seeds, and we're going to add 2 teaspoons of real vanilla extract. And again, I'm reminding you, please don't use the imitation vanilla. there's no comparison to the flavor. So let's get mixing. We're going to mix up this coconut milk because when you open the can, you'll notice that it's separated. So we want to get that so it's nicely mixed and even in texture. And to that, we're going to add our 1/4 cup of organic chia seeds. And mix that up nicely. And then we're going to add our 2 teaspoons of real vanilla extract and mix that up nicely. And I am not kidding you, you're not going to believe this, we're done. That's it. We are finished and ready to go, ready to cover and go right in the refrigerator for an hour. And then I'm going to show you how delicious this is. I wish you could taste it. Our chia pudding version 2 is ready to try. I made this a couple of hours ago. It doesn't take very long for it to gel. I'm going to tip this over so you can see how gelled it is. It's beautiful, it's rich, it's creamy, it's delicious, and I think we should serve some up and try it. So, I am spooning this into my dessert dish, and you can have small servings, you can have large servings. Honestly, I love to just take the big bowl out and have a little spoonful once in a while. It's so delicious. It's rich and creamy. You know, it's actually healthy for you. Did you even know that chia seeds help reduce blood pressure? They help lower blood pressure. So it's nice to be able to say I'm having dessert and it's actually good for me. I like to have chocolate shavings on my chia pudding from time to time, so I have 85% chocolate here. I just have a potato peeler, and I'm just going to run that over the edge of the chocolate and get some chocolate shavings on there. You don't have to do this. I mean, you can put fruit on it. Use your imagination. And that's it. A little spoon there, and it's ready to enjoy. Chia pudding version 2. This is so good, I have to have a bite. There's plenty to share, and I wish you were here, but you'll have to trust me. I'm going to try it, and I hope you'll try it too. It's really good. It's sweet, but not too sweet. It's rich, creamy, and that 85% chocolate is unbelievable on top. Give it a try. I got one more special dessert for you, so stay tuned. Are you ready for our third dessert? This one's even easier. We started with the toughest one, which wasn't that tough, and then we went easy, and now this is extremely easy. There are 2 ingredients, ice cream and beer. I bet you didn't expect that from me. This recipe I actually learned from watching one of my favorite TV chefs, Hubert Keller. Learned it from him. Now he used what we're going to use today, which was a stout, but just know that if you prefer a nut brown ale or something like that, some people don't want to have a stout in the summer, they like something lighter. You can always go with a nut brown or something that's not quite so heavy. I can drink a stout any time of the year. The heat, the summer, the season doesn't deter me. So we're just going to put this delicious vanilla ice cream in the glass, and a little bit about the vanilla ice cream. This is dairy-free. It is sweetened with monk fruit, and it's made with coconut milk. And I would encourage you to try something that is other than dairy. It's nice to kind of mix it up, get yourself off so much dairy. It's a good idea for your health. So we're going to put this in, and then we're going to pour very slowly so we don't have any overflows. We're going to add our organic chocolate stout, and it's going to be delicious. So, and this, when you have the coconut-based ice cream, it's kind of a good idea to take it out of the freezer and let it warm up just a little bit. It's not icy, but it's a different consistency than you'll find with the regular dairy ice cream. And this tastes wonderfully of vanilla. It's not overshadowed by the sweetener, by any sugar or fructose or anything like that. So we have that all set, and we're just going to open our stout. There we go. And pour very slowly. I love the color contrast. And I love the fragrance too, because this is a chocolate stout. You're smelling chocolate and vanilla at the same time. And believe it or not, that's it. Quick, easy, delicious, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Experiment around, as I said, try different beers that you like. So that's our third and final dessert. No added sugar in any of these that we've talked about. So please try them, let me know how you like them. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you again in my kitchen next time. We're back. I hope you enjoyed seeing how easy those desserts are to make. I want to finish today by talking a little bit with you about some switches you can make to reduce your sugar intake. I know it causes panic when people talk about stopping sugar cold turkey. Some people can do this and some do better with a gradual lifestyle change. So let's explore some small suggested changes you can put into practice now, beginning with breakfast. Instead of juice in the morning, have some whole fresh fruit. Some berries or a few slices of orange will give you the sugar that is metabolized more slowly, and frankly, you'll get more vitamins and fiber from the whole fruit than you will if you drink the juice. Next, I advise my coaching clients to avoid cereal, but if you must, make it oatmeal, and not the oatmeal in the packets that are loaded with flavors and sugars, junk, and preservatives. Now here's a list of the 60+ names of sugar that you need to read the ingredient label to find. Even if it says 0 sugar, there can still actually be small amounts of sugars per serving in the food that are required to be on the list of ingredients on the back label. Now, if you want to download a copy of this list, you can find it on my website under the Resources section of the menu. Toast is the same thing. If you must have toast, choose whole grain bread, not merely whole wheat bread. Whole wheat breads are actually converted to sugar very, very quickly, and some of them become sugar in your mouth while you're still chewing them, before you've even swallowed them. If you need to have a sweetener in your coffee or tea, try xylitol for a change. This tastes like sugar, but it doesn't give you the glucose bump that sugar, honey, stevia, and other sweeteners give you. But don't buy xylitol that comes from China. You have to be careful because China is now producing a cheap imitation that is not in your best interest to use. And again, if you want to check out the xylitol that I suggest to my coaching clients, it's in the Resources section of my website. For lunch, choose a salad with protein. The main rule is that staying away from the fast food places is always in the best interest of your long-term health. Yes, you. I know you're rolling your eyes when I say that, but I'm doing it for your own good. Now, dinner can be a small amount of protein and go heavy on the vegetables and salad. And you know, I know I'm not supposed to lecture you because people shut down, but please don't shut down. Everything that I do and everything I say is a suggestion, and I do it with your best interest and your future health at heart. Need a snack? Try a small handful of nuts and a sliced apple, or try some hummus with celery or carrots or sliced pepper. Beautiful sliced colored peppers dipped in hummus, those are great choices for a snack. Focus on improvement, not perfection. It's my experience working with clients for years now that few people can successfully rip the Band-Aid off quickly when it comes to making moves toward healthy eating. So check out the recipes and resources on my website too. Go to thinstronghealthy.com. On the website, I share what I've been using that has worked for me and that has helped me to lose weight and chronic depression. Now I want to hear from you, so email me with any questions you have, any comments you have, any requests you have for subjects you'd like me to delve into and cover on any subsequent Thin, Strong, Healthy programs. And you can email me at cheryl@thinstronghealthy.com. I'm here to serve you in your quest for better mental and physical health through healthier eating. I want to thank you for spending this time with me on this edition of Thin, Strong, Healthy. This is Cheryl A. Major, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.